is Cronkite News.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you.
President-elect Donald Trump met with Barack Obama for the first time at the White House today. How they plan to transition smoothly come January.
And Donald Trump won the electoral vote, but he's behind in the popular vote. We take a look at why this is an unusual result for a presidential election.
Plus, businesses at the Arizona border are expecting changes with Donald Trump as the new president. How they're preparing for an economic impact.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Danielle Kernkamp.
And I'm Veronica Acosta. Thank you for joining us. President-elect Donald Trump touched down in Washington today to meet with President Barack Obama and other congressional leaders for the first time since he won the election. Reporter Sabella Scalisa is live in front of the White House to tell us what's going on in our nation's capital.
Yes, I'm in front of the White House where the president-elect's meeting with the president comes as protesters and supporters have been gathering in the wake of the election. The meeting comes with a long history, beginning with Trump's campaign questioning Obama's birth certificate and continuing with their bitter presidential election. But this was the first time the two men have met face to face. President Obama said the two talked about organization of the White House, foreign policy, and domestic policy. He said his new priority is to facilitate a transition to ensure that Trump is successful.
I believe that it is important for all of us, regardless of party and regardless of political preferences, to now come together, work together, to deal with the many challenges that we face.
Trump said originally the meeting was supposed to be very brief.
The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half, and it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer. We really, we discussed a lot of different situations, some wonderful and some difficulties. I very much look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel.
Trump continued his Washington meetings, heading from the White House to the Capitol to sit down with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan and with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. While official White House is extending an olive branch, Arizona lawmakers too are showing support. Even Senator Jeff Flake, who originally came out against Trump in the campaign, he tweeted out that he is looking forward to working with the 45th president. Live in front of the White House, Sabella Scalisa, Cronkite News.
While many races in Arizona and around the country have been called, one that voters are still waiting to hear the outcome of is the Maricopa County Recorder's race, which has been closely watched since voters endured long wait times and long lines back in March. The Republican and Democratic candidates running are still awaiting the final ballots to be counted in order to know who will be the Maricopa County Recorder. The County Recorder site, which was last updated on November 9th, had incumbent Helen Purcell trailing behind Adrian Fontes by just 1%.
We feel pretty good. And the percentages being what they are, really what we're looking at is we're about 10,000 votes ahead in the total vote count right now, a little over that. And the votes that are coming in now and are going to be counted now are early votes. They're Pebble voters. They tend to lean in our direction. If you look at the early voting numbers, which these votes will be consistent with.
According to the elections office, official numbers should be ready by December 5th. As for Fontes, he already knows the first action he's taking if he is elected to be Maricopa County Recorder.
The first thing that I'm going to do is ask Helen to go have a cup of coffee so that we can, put the campaign stuff aside and make sure that we transition the way that these offices should be transitioned.
I reached out to Purcell's assistant for comment but received no reply.
Donald Trump won the electoral vote Tuesday night, but he's behind in the popular vote. Cronkite News reporter Natalie Tarangoli spoke to people who explained why this is unusual for a presidential election.
A week ago, Donald Trump was saying it was a rigged system and the Electoral College is a rigged system. Donald Trump is not going to say the Electoral College is a rigged system anymore because he just won.
It's something that's only happened a handful of times before. The most recent, the 2000 election between Al Gore and George W. Bush.
Now, only we have only for the 5th time in the history of the Republic does it look like we have a president who didn't win the popular vote.
Hillary Clinton received nearly 300,000 more votes on Election Day than Donald Trump. According to a Valley constitutional expert, Trump's winning of key battleground states sealed his victory, reaching that magic number of 270 electoral votes.
In the Electoral College, the Republicans have a slight advantage, which, by the way, is part of the reason why Donald Trump has done well in the Electoral College, won the presidency, seemingly right now.
The winner of the Electoral College is almost always the winner of the popular vote, too. But despite this, McWhorter said the electoral math actually favors Democrats in the presidential election. More blue states have electors than not.
For the Republican to win the presidency in the modern era, the Republican has to win every battleground state. If you take all the states that are usually going to be Democrats and all the states that are usually going to be Republicans, the Democrat only needs to pick up 29 electoral votes to be the president. The Republican has to win every single battleground, and Donald Trump won every single battleground state.
Compared to the 2012 election, both candidates this year actually received less votes. An ASU professor said if more Democrats came out to vote this year, Clinton might have won the electoral vote and the presidency.
Turnout, despite all the pictures of people lining up at the polls, turnout actually went down. And so just over 1 out of 2 Americans voted, period, during this election.
Simpson and McWhorter said it's not likely that the Electoral College would be changed, as it's usually just talked about every 4 years. In Phoenix, Natalie Terrangioli, Cronkite News.
A new report from the University of Florida is estimating that voter turnout was down in this election. The voter turnout rate in 2008 was 62%, and it's declined 6 points in the last 8 years to 56%. Since the 2012 election, there was a significant rise in the voting eligible population by about 9 million. But there was no significant change in the number of ballots counted, resulting in the turnout drop.
It is said to have been one of the biggest upsets in a presidential election. Despite media predictions, Donald Trump won the White House. So where did the reporting go wrong? Alexa Stugrath is in the control room to share some insight from top editors across the country.
The media's prediction on the outcome of the presidential election missed the mark. The Cronkite School hosted a panel of news professionals to discuss the missteps of the media and where we go from here.
Blame it on the problems with the opinion polls, changes at the voting polls, but the media's expectation that Hillary Clinton would win the election was off. As the world watched Tuesday night, Donald Trump won state after state.
We are not very good at reporting things that haven't yet happened. You know, we whether it's a hurricane or a sports event or a political contest, you know, we are just not 100% on the future or even 50%.
Some speculate that the error could have been in the way we gathered our news.
There are 2 faults I saw in this campaign coverage because of the digital revolution. One was focus on data, not just polls, but every other kind of data. Instead of talking to voters, instead of doing reporting, instead of shoe leather reporting, relying on data. And the other is social media, just paying too much attention to the social media, reporting all the time on Donald Trump's tweets, whether or not he wrote them or not.
Top newspapers like the New York Times, LA, Phoenix, even the AZ Central are in big focus cities, and oftentimes we don't get out to report in rural areas. We haven't done our justice reporting in areas of the country where we don't normally travel to. And so I think we didn't have the story right because we didn't have our coverage spread out. We didn't have our coverage right.
Or the way we reported it.
Editorial mistakes. CNN covered the Trump candidacy like a freak show.
Maybe it comes down to bias, some political and some geographical.
There is a perception that we are not an independent press. Most people in mainstream media newsrooms are Democrats. They vote Democratic. Some of them even contribute to the Democratic cause.
We tend to forget about rural America a lot. We forget all of those small states and how many voters could be there possibly.
No matter how it happened, the result leaves an uneasy feeling with journalists.
I'm nervous because journalists are people's friends. We are the public's friend. We are their ally. He's managed to turn his entire campaign into a situation where people fear journalists. And it's our job to kind of now take that and bring back our credibility and rebuild the reputation of the media.
Trump may have won the election on Tuesday, but he still has to wait until January 20th to be sworn in. In the control room, Alexis Dukrath, Cronkite News.
President-elect Donald Trump has said a lot about the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico during his campaign.
Now that he's been elected, those with Mexican ties wonder what that means for them. Coming up on Cronkite News, border businesses wonder what economic changes they might face.
Plus, how Washington, D.C. pays tribute to our veterans.
I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Good to be alive right about now. Good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move. It's good to be alive right about now. I think I finally found It's good to be alive right about now.
On election night, only one news team in Arizona had more than 100 journalists working the story. Arizona PBS brought you the latest information and critical analysis. Cronkite News took you to New York, the Mexico border, Washington, D.C., and across the valley. Arizona Horizon host Ted Simons and his team broke down the results and impact on Arizona. Arizona news and analysis you won't find anywhere else on Arizona PBS and cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Along the border, there's concern about how a Trump presidency will impact the region. The election sent the value of Mexico's peso tumbling further. And as Cronkite News reporter Yesenia Beltran shows us, that's bad for businesses in Nogales, Arizona.
I'm here in downtown Nogales, Arizona, where a once busy border city now has shops closing. I spoke to several businesses who were reluctant to comment on camera about whether or not the election will affect their economy. But they did tell us that they believe the economy is suffering due to long wait times to enter the U.S. and the exchange rate. As a result, this is causing people to shop less often.
I remember how this area used to be lively. There were a lot more people.
Businesses depend heavily on shoppers from Mexico, but these days fewer are crossing the border, and those who do spend less because of the weak peso.
The peso is at $20 to $1, and that affects us because we come over here to buy everything we need.
The peso hit a historic low point after Trump's election. Another concern, President-elect Trump wants to renegotiate trade deals.
Well, we need to keep the business going with Mexico. I mean, I'd say about 80% of the workforce here relies on Mexico. Products imported from Mexico to sell here in the United States. I would definitely need to keep that alive.
This street preacher comes from Mexico and faces long lines at the border. That keeps some people from coming at all, leading to less business.
I work for God and I talk about salvation and the gospel.
But others are worried about layoffs if the border economy gets worse. Reporting in Nogales, Yesenia Beltran, Cronkite News.
Mexico's peso has recovered slightly, but remains weak and could suffer another setback.
Just across the border in Mexico, people are worried about what a Trump presidency will mean for their country and relatives living in the U.S. Cronkite News reporter Lillian Griego talked to people in Nogales, Mexico.
Here in Nogales, Sonora, some people are afraid of what the future holds now that Donald Trump has been elected president. Marco Antonio Contreras worries that there will be more discrimination against Mexicans. Others worry about mass deportations.
He's going to start throwing everybody out, regardless whether, they actually working or they're doing bad things or good things. It's not really going to matter.
She's a U.S. citizen, but knows others who are not.
There's also been a lot of commenting from Mexico on social media. Mexico's president congratulated Donald Trump on Twitter for winning the election, but the finance minister said his country would not pay for the wall.
Others in Mexico hope President-elect Donald Trump realizes that Mexicans are worth so much more than he thinks. In Nogales, Sonora, Lilian Griego, Cronkite News.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says the developer of the Dakota Access Pipeline is refusing to help defuse tensions between protesters and authorities. The Corps has asked Energy Transfer partners to stall work in the area multiple times, but crews are preparing to tunnel under Lake Oahe this week. The pipeline is complete except under the Missouri River Reservoir, which has been delayed while the Corps reviews its permits. A developer official says work won't be done until this company gets permission to be on the Corps property. We're heading into the holiday weekend.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we'll bring you your weekend weather forecast. Plus, a look into how the U.S. is honoring its veterans here at home and at one of the most moving locations in the nation's capital.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm always searching to feel like I fit into something.
We are the people that we are because of our past.
I'm just one of many who stopped being silent.
It's just proof of how far we have come.
Make sure in all the hustle and bustle, we don't lose sight of why we're here.
It all boils down to communicating the lives we live.
If you look closely, they've got a story to tell.
It connects with you in a very deep way.
We wish you love, peace, and soul.
Come with us on this great adventure.
Come and play with us.
Onward and onward!
Good ideas open up a whole new world of possibilities.
The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself.
The sky is the limit.
Where I go, there you are.
Navajo Nation officials said Navajo code talker George Paul James died in New Mexico yesterday at 92. James was one of the code talkers who used the Navajo language to outsmart the Japanese during World War II. James was recognized by Navajo Nation President Russell Begay and Vice President Jonathan Nez in a statement saying, quote, "With the passing of Navajo code talker George Paul James, we are witnessing the tragic loss of a historical icon to the Navajo people and the citizens of the United States." Many Americans will have a day off from work and school tomorrow to acknowledge our nation's veterans and active duty military. Cronkite News reporter Dylan Eddy brings us to Washington, D.C., where the tributes are growing.
The Vietnam Memorial was built in 1982 and carries the names of over 58,000 men and women who lost their lives while fighting for freedom in Vietnam. For many, the wall serves as a place of comfort and peace.
It helped me with my healing at that time, so when I moved on here, several months later after my husband passed away, the first thing I did was sign up to be a volunteer down here to help others.
Some have even referred to the memorial as a healing wall.
It doesn't just help the Vietnam veterans. I've seen a lot of Iraqi and Afghanistan vets that have come down, and the Vietnam veterans are able to help them and vice versa.
It's been over 50 years since the United States sent troops to Vietnam, and over 30 years since a memorial was dedicated in these soldiers' honor. But Kimberly Allen focuses on another number, 20, the average age of the person engraved on this wall.
The average age on that wall is 20 years old, and the youngest person I think is 15.
When it comes to the importance of veterans, Allen says it all comes down to understanding.
I think we need to honor them, and I think we need to learn from them, and I think we need to really understand so we can heal our country now. But it's not going to heal until we understand.
The memorial will be celebrating its 35th anniversary on Veterans Day with a reading of names ceremony held by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the nonprofit organization responsible for building the wall. Reporting from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, Dylan Eddy, Cronkite News.
The annual Veterans Day Parade will be snaking through Central Phoenix tomorrow. The parade will head south on Central Avenue from Montebello Drive to Camelback Road, turn east on Camelback Road to 7th Street, and then turn south on 7th Street and end at Indian School Road. Arizona state parks are offering free admission to veterans and active duty military on Friday. Arizona State Parks Executive Director Sue Black said, "Everyone who visits the parks benefits from our service of our veterans, whether it is their service to our country or as a volunteer at a state park. Veterans continue to contribute to Arizona and our outdoor resources."
If you are planning to head out this weekend, it's the perfect time to do so. We've got beautiful temperatures across the state. If you are heading to the Grand Canyon, it's 47 in Flagstaff, so might want to grab a jacket for that one. But here in Phoenix, going to be at 77, 69 in Tucson. But if you're heading out tonight, might want to grab a jacket because taking a look at our lows, we're at 34 in Flagstaff, 68 in Phoenix, 62 in Tucson. Taking a look at the weekend forecast, we have 84 on Friday, 83 on Saturday, and 84 on Sunday. Here's a 7-day forecast. 85 and then 73 on Thursday. That's a look at your 7-day forecast.
Tomorrow, many people will take the time to honor our troops. Tonight, we introduce you to one Phoenix man who shows his respect for vets in a special way.
The confidence to lead our country.
This isn't reality television.
I feel like Hamilton reached out from history and wouldn't let me go until I told his story.
I make no apology for my actions. I would do the same again.
How we come so far and yet have so far to go.
Right there, coming up.
In 1920s Melbourne,
Careful with the hand luggage. My pistol's in there somewhere and it may still be loaded.
Phryne Fisher is a detective.
Things could get interesting around here.
Thought they already were.
Who isn't afraid to live a little.
I hope you're not concealing a dangerous weapon under that skirt.
I'm concealing a lot of things. Why do you think you could just run off on your own? Because I'm carrying a gun.
The irresistible series, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Saturday night at 10 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Charlie Rose. As part of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at ASU, Arizona PBS is providing a state-of-the-art venue for the next generation of journalists. From newsrooms in Washington, Los Angeles, and here in Phoenix, students engage in real-time, real-world news reporting, broadcast production, and online innovation. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS working together in new ways to bridge the classroom to the community in the digital age.
Many people around Arizona will be attending parades and other tributes to honor our service members tomorrow.
But not everyone does it the same way. As reporter Tyler Fingert found out, one Phoenix man is honoring them through art.
When you look into the sky, it's hard to spot. But on the ground, you'll see what everyone is talking about.
On this side, we're honoring the National Guard here.
A plane that's one part metal and one part art.
My favorite painting on the plane is probably Chesty Puller from the Marines.
That's Rodney Gerald, and this is his plane. There's no need to pimp his ride because he's already done it himself.
Here we've got our Navy side.
If you take a walk around the single-engine Vans RV-10, you'll notice something. All of it, in one form or another, is honoring our heroes.
I always felt like the guys aren't getting enough respect and have never gotten enough respect.
While Rodney didn't serve in the military, this plane is his way of honoring them. It features people from all branches of the military, including Arizona's Pat Tillman. At October's Copper State Flying in Mesa, Rodney showed off his pride and joy. Last year, he flew away with the competition's top honors.
This is my favorite spot right here.
Most who stop and look leave with little more than a picture, but for those who've served, like Rodney's friend Tim Clark, it gives them a chance to look back and reflect on their service to this nation.
I don't think words can sum it up. I mean, from the two unknown soldiers on the hood to each branch it's just amazing.
And Tim feels the same way about honoring our vets, so he joins Rodney at many of these fly-ins to help him put our struggle for freedom on full display.
It's just been an incredible relationship. He's so generous to do all this for veterans. Even though he didn't serve in the military, he's given back. He's a true patriot.
The stars are kind of falling until they get to the flag.
A true patriot with a message worth sharing that many would agree with.
We wouldn't have a country without the military. We owe them a big debt. Here's an individual that's gone out of his way, created and built a living display.
It's a work of art, and I hope it stays for generations to come.
I've had some tearful moments, lots of hugs from the veterans that they thank me for coming out and actually just showing people what they've been through.
A history lesson in time, forever imprinted on a plane to make sure we never forget where we came from and where we're going. In Mesa, Tyler Fingert, Cronkite News.
Rodney flies around the country showing off the plane. This weekend, he'll be at an air show in Las Vegas, where he hopes to meet the only living service member who's featured on the plane.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, a Horizon in Focus special. We'll speak with renowned architect Will Bruder as he talks about his art and his craft inside one of his own creations, the Burton Barr Library. Will Bruder on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, we take a close look at what a Trump presidency means for the main issues facing our nation. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Coming up on Arizona Collectibles.
Wow.
In this condition.
Wow. Wow. I better not just laying around anymore.
I wouldn't be putting pencils in it anymore.
But not a bad investment for $2.
Probably the three major artists in Mexico. There would be Diego Rivera, Siqueiros, and then Orozco.
His work is sought after, and as I said, this is the most desirable subject for him.
Tonight at 7:30 on Arizona PBS.
Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona PBS provides great musical performances all year long, and now we have some of the best seats to see your favorite acts live and in concert. Arizona PBS Box Office presents a backstage pass to meet world-class performers. Arizona PBS Box Office presents a chance to see exciting performances before they sell out. This month, Arizona PBS Box Office presents acclaimed a cappella group Straight No Chaser returns to the Valley Saturday, December 31st at Mesa Arts Center.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World. For veterans, coming back to civilian life brings new challenges, new opportunities, and new stories of remarkable courage and accomplishment. Veterans Coming Home connects veterans and their families to resources and services for successful transition to civilian life. Explore some of the best resources and opportunities for veterans at azpbs.org/veterans. Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
Next time on Soundbreaking.
I knew that guy was the important guy to watch. He's the guy in charge.
The producer.
I've heard of Phil Spector. I heard of Jimmy Miller with the Stones. I didn't know what they did.
A lot of the job is that of being a therapist.
He's hearing things that the average ear will never encounter in a song.
And it's your job to try and make everybody's hair stand on end.
Monday night at 9 on Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Deanne Griebel, now with Moores & Cabot Investments, serving investors since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
Entre las calles que nací, en la mano llevo un dulce y en la otra el corazón. Soy alegre cuando salgo, soy la risa donde voy.
Ironwood Cancer and Research Centers, providing personalized treatment options through research trials, genetic testing, and counseling, focused on emotional, physical, and social support. Outsmarting cancer one patient at a time.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, In Focus, we'll speak with noted architect Will Bruder, who's designed a number of iconic buildings, including the Burton Bar Central Library.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Arizona Horizon In Focus. I'm Ted Simons. Tonight we're speaking with noted architect Will Bruder. You may not remember his name or even be familiar with his name, but you are certainly familiar with his designs around town. Welcome to Arizona Horizon, Will Bruder. Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
It's great to be here as well. This is one of your designs, the Phoenix Library, the central branch. When you sit in here, we have so much to talk about, but we're sitting in something you designed. How does that make you feel?
It's very gratifying. It's everybody's building. We had 28 citizen meetings to talk about this building,